We have David Rodríguez Estrada in the San Diego Screenwriters studio today. I'm super excited. His film, El Tesoro, was part of the San Diego Latino Film Festival, which was a great event. And you and I, Raul, have talked a lot about film activism, and David is actually doing the deal.
Yeah, we've talked about film activism a lot. In fact, there's a lot of film festivals devoted in San Diego to film activism, like the Arab Film Festival, for instance.
Yep.
And this is another one, or David's film is, I should say. He focuses on the disappeared in Mexico, and this has been going on for decades. You know, the government has and hasn't been complicit and hasn't acknowledged various aspects of this, but he takes on a very novel approach, using kind of the new digital cinematography. He's got lots of great camera angles, lots of great shots. He's really set this short film up, and I do want to emphasize this is a 20-minute film, right? But it packs a real punch.
What David Rodríguez Estrada has done is bring the crisis of the disappeared to the forefront in his film El Tesoro. That translates in English to the treasure, which is very interesting how he plays that. David is very gracious, and you'll want to hear why he wrote the film, where he went to direct it, which is a little bit sketchy, and film it, and how he snagged an Academy Award nominee actor to be his brave protagonist. Unbelievable film proactivism at work, only on the San Diego Screenwriters Studio. David Rodríguez Estrada, welcome to the San Diego Screenwriters Studio.
Thank you so much for having me, Gail.
Yeah, we want to talk about your movie, El Tesoro, The Treasure, and tell us a little bit about how you structured this 20-minute film.
El Tesoro, it talks about the humanitarian crisis that is going on in Mexico, and it's been going on for decades now, about missing people, and about the families that look for their missing family members, especially those parents that go into the fields and with a shovel to dig clandestine graves and looking for their missing children. And people disappear for many different factors, many different reasons. But yes, I wrote this script. It's a 20-minute short film. And originally, if I'm not mistaken, it's a 15-page script. So that's what it ended up being. I actually wanted to do something shorter, but while I was editing it, I realized that it could not be possible, like to cut it to just 10 or 15 minutes.
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to congratulate you because it's a beautifully shot film and it is just a beautiful story. There's a sense of salvation and justice in this movie. You know, you mentioned the humanitarian crisis, and I think we've all read the headlines about missing people in Mexico and how the families have become activists for themselves, right? And advocates for themselves, right? And so you've really kind of taken that story and put it front and center. So what structure did you follow on this? Was it a 3-act structure, or, when you did your first acts, are there complete breaks in it? I saw a few of them, but I just want to kind of get your take on how you actually structured this.
Yeah, I think it is like a 3-act structure. However, it's not linear, like we go back into the past and then the present and then the past. And for the first 2 acts, we don't really know what's going on until the end of the second act. That's when we start piecing together the pieces and putting together this puzzle. And that's when we start coming into conclusions of what the story is really about. However, I wrote it in a way that I wanted to be mysterious, and I wanted the audiences to be like detectives, to do like a detective work and be immersed in this story and wanting to know what's going to happen. I wanted to have a very strong protagonist, and I wanted the people to relate to this protagonist, which in this case is this middle-aged Mexican woman who's a mother, and whose son confesses to her about the many crimes he committed, including disappearing people. So when she receives this message from her son, who's dying of an illness, that's when she takes on this mission to reunite families with their missing loved ones.
I mean, right at 11 minutes in, that's when he tells her about the notebook. She also confesses to him and says, I should have been a better mother.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a dual confession there between the two of them that was like a real turning point. For me, it was when she took on the mission that he had handed her, right?
Exactly. And to me, it was a little bit like the origin story of a superhero, because we are witnessing the birth of a superhero.
Yes.
And it's just that she's not wearing a cape or a mask, you know? But this is like a modern Mexican superhero that we should all look up to be more like her, being more compassionate towards one another and to other people's suffering. She doesn't know yet how she's going to do it, but after we see her doing it, after accomplishing the first part of her mission, you know, because it's going to be a long mission, because it's a long list of victims, families of these victims, that she's going to go and try to reunite them.
What's really brilliant about this, David, is that the first act was about how she does it, right? Because that's the forward piece of it. That's the flash forward of what she will be doing, right? And how she kind of couches the information to get these people to allow her to start digging, right?
Yeah, I think that she's like, in this case, her alter ego is the one of clairvoyant, you know?
Yes.
Like someone that knows, that has this information, and people don't know how she knows this.
Right.
People don't know, how does she know the location of this clandestine grave? How could she know that? And of course, she's not going to reveal how is it that she knows it. And it's really not necessary to reveal that kind of information, because they just want people to be open and to be honest and to be compassionate, you know, about their suffering, and just reveal whatever you may know. Time to speak up.
So let's talk about your superhero protagonist, Adriana Barraza, right? How did you get her?
She was nominated for an Academy Award for Babel. I don't know if you've seen this film, Babel, with from Alejandro González Iñárritu. So yeah, she was nominated for an Oscar for that. And, you know, she's Mexican royalty for like film actors.
Right. So how did you get her?
Well, you know, I was fortunate enough that I had met her before El Tesoro. We worked together on another project that I edited, another short film, and she was playing a character in that film. I was very fortunate that you know, it all came together, it all happened, and that she was very close to us because of that relationship that she had with my producer. And so I actually wrote this script thinking about her.
Oh, there you go.
Because initially I had a draft, and then I just thought that she should be this new character. I created this character thinking about her because I knew there was no other actress that could bring about, you know, the power on screen that she does. And you know, when I brought the script to her and she read it, she was like, "Oh my God, I've been waiting to tell this story. I've been waiting to talk about los desaparecidos, the missing people in Mexico, and madres buscadoras, the searching mothers. I want to do it. I want to do this film. You can count on me. It's a brilliant script. I love it. Let's do it." And like I said, I feel very fortunate because having an actor like of her stature, to allow me to direct her. And she was very generous. I learned so much from her. It was like having like being a part of a masterclass. Because of my other producer, Patricia Regan, who's a very well-known director, Mexican director, she was the one that connected me to this production company in Guadalajara, CM Films, and Gustavo Castillon, Ian Martin were the ones that also read the script and were very moved by it. And when they learned that Adriana Barraza was a part of it, they were like, okay, we're going to finance it. We're going to give you the money. We're going to give you our full support so that you can shoot it here in Guadalajara. And I just feel so blessed because also Guadalajara is it's like the top state in Mexico that has the most missing people in the whole country.
You went to the epicenter of this huge crisis, right? To film this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the epicenter, even though it just happens all throughout Mexico, from the north to the south.
Did you get any threats about doing a story like this?
The story that we're trying to tell is not pointing any fingers at any particular person.
Right.
It's more about being compassionate.
Yeah.
And it's more about what to do when time has gone by, and it's about time, to talk. We should not remain silent about. And I think that the protection that I have in this case is that it's a work of art. And when you're creating art, I think we're allowed to talk about these stuff when we do it from this particular artistic standpoint. And like I said, all of the people that wanted to be a part of it, I don't think anybody was scared to talk about this issue, because it's something that everybody knows about. Like, everybody knows someone who might have someone who's no longer with them, and who they don't know what happened to this person. They're missing, they're disappeared. So even if we were like, oh no, we're not going to talk about it, it's not going to go away. Like, the issue, the problem persists, and it's going to keep on happening. So I believe that the more we talk about this in safe environments, such as film, as a work of art, I think it can help society to heal and to let these people know, to let these criminals know, wherever they're at, whether they're at their own homes or in prison or in rehab centers. My hope is that they get to watch the film and somehow they become more compassionate about the victims of their own crimes, and they want to share the truth about what happened to them. And they can do it in the most anonymous way. Nobody's going to know. And they're going to bring so much peace to these families that really, really, really need this peace. The circle of grief. Yeah,
absolutely. That's so beautifully said. I would like to just dance around the ending without giving too much away, because when she gets in the taxi cab, Adriana Barraza, when she gets in that cab and she's going somewhere and she takes out the picture of the next victim, you know the story now. As a detective, you've got the 30,000 foot view of things right now, right? But when they open the door and she says, what she says, it's kind of like, then you understand how she's able to take these people and get them to go with her, right? Because they're after the word. It's semantics. It comes down to semantics, right? What they're out really after, and it's beautiful. So how did you come up with that? That is just amazing.
Yeah, I think it's poetic. It's just a work of love. And I think that my purpose when writing the story and, of course, the ending was that I wanted to leave audiences with a little bit of hope. Because I think it's very easy to talk about these tragedies in a very dark way, you know, almost like doing a documentary and not providing any kind of hope, any kind of relief for in this case our main character, our protagonist, because you know, I wanted the audiences to go with Adriana's character and to feel what she was feeling, you know, as the mother of an assassin, you know, of a criminal.
The Notebook, I mean, did you know that was going to be the prop that was going to kind of be the engine for your story?
Yeah. Even if it was not a notebook, it had to be some kind of a map where did he bury these people?
Right.
Where are they?
Did you play with that? Did you play with, should it be a map or should it be a notebook? Should it be just pictures? Should it be, you know, a folder?
I think listening to other stories from like real life stories, I've learned that criminals do that, you know, people do that. Like they keep notes and you don't really know why they do that. Like, why would you keep a map, you know, of the place where you buried hundreds of people?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe these people many times keep a track record of the things that they've done, because later on they might use that information for something which might be even redemption in this case.
Fabulous time talking with you, David Rodríguez Estrada.
Thank you so much, Gail, for highlighting El Tesoro.
I don't glow very often, but when I do, you know, it's because it deserves it. And this film really deserves it.
Right.
I hope he goes far with this.
He talks about, you know, what it took to get this film off the ground, but mainly where he went to shoot it. And, you know, as I mentioned, I asked him straight up, were you threatened in any way on this one?
Yeah, and he filmed it in Jalisco, which is ground zero of the narco trafficking and killings right now.
Right, it absolutely is. You know, last year, Mexico's official number of missing people grew to over 100,000 for the first time. This year, 2024, it stands even higher, with authorities announcing recently that more than 112,000 people have been forcibly disappeared and never found again since records began in 1962.
We've seen in, you know, series like Narcos, and, you know, we have a certain idea of what's going on. But again, David really takes a new approach to filming this.
He does. So let's talk about the script. Let's dig into the script, because the script was wonderful. Right at 11 pages or whatever, that was the midpoint, right?
Yeah, we talked about the midpoint and the importance of it, and I didn't realize how important it is in a short film. As you say, in a 20-minute film, we see some key information revealed at the 11-minute mark when the dying son says, "I did horrible things."
Right.
And it sets, you noted this, Gail, there really are two movies here.
Yep.
The first 11 minutes and then the second 10-ish minutes.
Absolutely. And you know what kind of sets us up for that is the device that he uses with kind of dealing with two different time periods. One, was it a flashback? We don't know. Was she visiting her son while all this was going on? So it was kind of hard to pinpoint the timeline. And he specifically, as you heard, he really wanted to kind of juggle that up to kind of set the audience off balance about that, right?
You know, we didn't ask David about this, but it just occurred to me. I believe he's using 2 different color palettes.
Oh, interesting. You talked about that before, yeah.
Well, and the famous example is Traffic with Michael Douglas,
Yes.
where all the ABC stories are different colors.
Yeah, did you notice the hospital was different?
Yeah, it was bluish.
Yeah.
And then when they were out in the sun at the mansion, it was very yellow and gold. Mm-hmm. So you had these different color palettes to indicate different stories, which was very powerful. Part of the cinematography that I'm talking about.
So tell me what you thought about the prop, because you're big about props. So let's talk about it.
The Notebook. And in fact, we probably could have named this The Notebook instead of the Treasure. Somebody hands a notebook off to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So they carry the notebook forward with this wisdom and information. So we have the notebook, but then we have this sort of double, what would we call it, a double trope going on, where the audience knows the information is in the notebook, but the people, the characters in the story think that she has magical powers.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. She's a medium of some type, which is very interesting. Yeah, I think that her arc is really, really well thought out. And I want to mention that is, again, Adriana Barraza, and her journey, as we were talking about, right at page 11, one of the major things that she does is she cuts her hair.
People who grew up Catholic like I did will recognize a few things here. She cuts her hair, so she's given herself to the cross. She's but also she has, her name is Clemencia, Clements.
Yeah.
That also, is a name that indicates that she comes from probably rural Mexico. So
but it also, clemency.
Yeah, and clemency.
Yes,
yeah, it's all working. There's all sorts of allegories and metaphors sewn into the fabric.
Which is what we talk about in before, about layering. Go back in and you really kind of finesse it and polish it up.
There's a lot of layering to her character, and as I said at the beginning, this is only a 20-minute film.
Incredible,
but it's like it packs the punch of a feature.
And the ending was pretty interesting. What did you think when she knocked on the door?
One of the cinematic techniques he uses is this POV shot. We see this POV looking up from the grave, and then you just asked, we see the POV of the person answering the door.
The final scene.
Looking out the door to Clemencia, who has looked this person up. And then again, it's very effective. We don't know who's behind the camera, but there are some open-ended questions.
But I certainly walked away with the fact that she wanted redemption, and not only for her, but for her son. Because she says that when she's at the hospital bed and he's dying, she says he confesses. Well, she confesses too. She says, I haven't always been the best mother, right?
And that's right when he dies.
Yeah.
So that sets her free to go on her new journey, which is right there at the beginning of the second half of the story.
For David, he's dual citizenship, and so he wanted to do this to actually get people to come forward, right? And actually do something, right? So this is the pro-activism that we talk about in film and in art and how that plays out. I tell you, he was very brave to do this film, I think. Very brave, because we had 2 reporters in Tijuana, not recently, but certainly in recent memory, who were, gunned down in front of their homes. So, yeah.
Yeah, Mexico is still a dangerous place, especially if you're going to, open your mouth.
Yeah, and I think what he wants, though, he doesn't want to point fingers at anybody, but he says if somebody knows something about about a disappeared person, to step forward and let the families of those victims get some kind of justice or some kind of closure, to get the families to get closure on it, really. And in the movie, we see that happen with Don Felipe, right? We see that wonderful closure that we're after.
And that's what we assume is happening at the end. She's going to knock on the door of a new family to help them find closure.
Right, exactly. And that is the redemption, I think, of the film. This is the cerebral part of the film in that she says, okay, we're going to find a treasure. You have a treasure, right? Mm-hmm. But what they don't realize is that it's not money.
Yeah.
But I think it plays well.
Well, I guess it gets the people to open the door and keep the door open.
Right. However, if she didn't keep up the ruse, she would have to expose that her son was an assassin.
And then there's also the notebook itself, because there's that. Nobody knows she has this notebook.
Right, absolutely.
Right? And she's probably concerned. People might want to get a hold of that notebook, right, to see what's in there, see if their name's mentioned. So as you said, she has to put on a ruse that she's sort of, has divine visions of
psychic abilities
of where these people are buried.
And again, we talk about short films and how powerful they are. And this is clearly a great example of that. It doesn't have to be so long. You got to have that midpoint, right? The midpoint. Yep. And then the ending, you got to hit that ending, which I think was great.
It's a 20-minute film, but it packs a punch like a feature, and it's packed with, like you had said, different layering and different layers of information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is it. Please, if you haven't seen it, look it up. It is El Tesoro, The Treasure by David Rodríguez Estrada. And thank you, David, for being on the San Diego Screenwriters Studio.
Corte!